Hello everyone, I'm Teacher Michelle and welcome to another episode of Unang Math. This is episode 55 and for this episode, I will be covering the topic about multiplication of rational numbers. Multiplication of rational numbers is much easier than addition and subtraction because it simply requires what sign to attach to the product of the numbers. So as long as you know the sign rules, then multiplication is just easy. So join me in this episode and let us find out what and how are signs attached when multiplying rational numbers. To start the topic about multiplication of rational numbers, now I will explain how to multiply two-signed numbers. When we say signed numbers, these are positive and negative numbers. We know how to multiply numbers. Example, 2 times 3, and this is equal to 6. Actually, there is an omitted positive sign before 2 and before 3. So this is positive 2 times positive 3. This is equal to 6 or positive 6. It's just easy to multiply two positive numbers. How about if one number is negative or both numbers are negative? Example, negative 2 times positive 3 or negative 2 times negative 3. How are we going to answer these problems? I will explain how to answer these problems using the number line. In multiplying signed numbers using the number line, we need to remember these two principles. The first principle is the sign of the first number determines the direction to consider. If the sign of the first number is positive, then the direction that we need to consider is right. But if the sign of the first number is negative, the direction that we need to consider is left. So that is for the first number. Now, let's go to the second number. And this is the second principle that you need to remember. So the sign of the second number determines the direction of movement. If the sign of the second number is positive, then we need to move forward. But if the sign is negative, then we need to move back. Let's give an example for you to understand these concepts. We have here this first example, positive 3 times positive 2. Let us find out what is the correct answer of this using the number line. Okay, using the number line, we should always start at 0 or at the center. So we are here. Okay, now let's check the sign of the first number. Positive 3, so this is positive. So the direction that we need to consider is right. So to represent that, we will put a dot to this side. So this is right direction. Okay, now, what is the sign of the second number? This is positive 2. So that means we need to move forward. So from here, we need to move forward. The question is, how many times? 3 times 2, 6. So we need to move forward 6 times. So from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the answer is positive 6. Let's go to the second example. Okay, the sign of the first number is negative. So that means we need to consider left direction. So let us put the dot or the I to this side because this side represents left direction. Okay, now let's check the sign of the second number. Positive 2. So this is positive. So that means we need to move forward. Okay, we need to move forward how many times? 3 times 2, 6. So from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the answer is negative 6. Let's go to the third example, negative 3 times negative 2. So this is negative. Our first number is negative. So the direction that we need to consider is left. Okay, so this point. Now, the sign of the second number is also negative. So that means we need to move back. So from here, we need to move back. So we will follow this direction. So how many times do we need to move back? 3 times 2, 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the answer is positive 6. Okay, let's go to the last example. Positive 3 times negative 2. So the first number is positive. So that means we need to consider right direction. So our eye or the point is here. Now, the sign of the second number is negative. So that means we need to move back. So this direction. How many times? 3 times 2, 6. So from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the answer is negative 6. Okay, from this example, we can now know the rules in multiplying sign numbers. If both numbers are positive, then the answer is also positive. If both numbers are negative, the answer is positive. But if one number is negative, another is positive, the answer is negative. One number is positive, the other number is negative, the answer is negative. Some students ask why a negative number times a negative number is positive number. To answer this question, we need to go back to the two principles of multiplication of sign numbers. So we have here negative 3 times negative 2. So the sign of the first number is negative. So we need to consider left direction. Okay, so we put the point here. Now, the sign of the second number is also negative. So that means we need to move back. We will not move forward, but we need to move back. How many times? 3 times 2, 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's why our answer is positive 6. Or, you can also think this way. If I say, I don't hate math, that means I like math. The words don't and hate are negative words, but the meaning is positive. Okay, so this is the detailed rules in multiplying sign numbers. So when we are multiplying two numbers with same signs, like positive times a positive number or a negative times a negative number, the answer is a positive number. If we are multiplying different signs, two numbers with different signs, like positive number times a negative number, or a negative number times a positive number, the answer is a negative number. Let's move on. This time, let us study or let us take a look at these multiplication properties. And these are very important to make solving easier. So we have here commutative property and associative property. We actually finished these properties when we studied addition of rational numbers, and they mean the same thing. So for commutative property of multiplication, even if we change the order of the numbers, the answer is still the same. So for example, number A times number B, if we will write it as number B times number A, the answer is still the same. We have here positive 4 times negative 3, and this is equal to negative 12. So positive times a negative number, the answer is a negative number. So even if I write negative 3 first times positive 4, the answer is still negative 12. So that is commutative property. Okay, how about associative property of multiplication? So even if I will change the group, the answer is still the same. So example, number A times number B, this is in a group, times C, and if I will write it as A times B times C, this is in a group, the answer is still the same. So we have here an example. Positive 2 times negative 3, this is in a group, times negative 4, the answer is positive 24. So even if I change the group, let's say negative 3 times negative 4 in one group, and positive 2 is not included in the group. So negative times a negative, it's positive. So this is positive 12. So positive 2 times positive 12, the answer is still positive 24. So that is associative property. Okay, now, let's answer the following problems. Which of the following has the smallest calculation result? So we have here 4 options, and we are going to find which has the smallest calculation result. Okay, let's check the first option here. This is a positive number times a negative number, so that means the answer is a negative number. Negative number times a negative number. Okay, number 2 answer is a positive number. How about number 3? This is negative and this is positive, so the answer is a negative number. Number 4 is negative number times a negative number. The answer is a positive number. The question is asking us to find the smallest calculation result. Negative, positive, negative, positive. We can now exclude positive numbers here. We will just going to compare these two results. Okay, let's have number 1. Positive 6 times negative 2 over 9. Okay, we can simplify. 6 and 9 has common factor 3. So 6 divided by 3, this becomes 2. This one is 3. So this is 2 times 2, so 4, and then the denominator is 3. So we have negative 4 over 3. How about number 3? Negative 2 over 3 times positive 21 over 4. Okay, we can simplify. 2 and 4, common factor 2. So this becomes 1. This becomes 2. 3 and 21, we can also simplify. Common factor is 3. So this becomes 1. 21 divided by 3 is 7. So this is negative 7 over 2. And if we will convert these two improper fractions to a mixed number, okay, this is negative 1, okay, and 1 over 3. And this is 7 over 2 is equal to 3 and 1 over 2. So it's negative. So which has the smallest calculation result? Negative 3 and 1/2 is smaller than negative 1 and 1 over 3. So the answer is number 3. Okay, let's move on. This time, let's find what is the result of positive 8 times negative 5 over 3 times positive 1 over 4. So we can apply here the multiplication properties. Okay, so let us multiply first positive 8 times positive 1 over 4 because both numbers are positive. And we can simplify 8 and 4. Common factor is 4, so this becomes 1 and this becomes 2. Okay, now 2 or positive 2 times a negative number. So this answer, or the answer must be negative. And then 2 times 5, 10. And the denominator is 3. So we have negative 10 over 3. Or if we will convert this one into a mixed number, this is equal to 3 and 1 over 3. So negative 3 and 1 over 3. Let us continue our lesson. This time, I will be teaching you how to determine the sign of the product in multiplying 3 or more signed numbers. In multiplication of 3 or more signed numbers, we need to remember this. The sign of the product is determined by the number of negative numbers, and the product of the absolute value of each number is written after the sign. I highlighted the words negative numbers because the number of negative numbers will tell us the sign of the product. We already know that a positive number times positive number, the answer is positive number. Even if we multiply 5 positive numbers, 10 positive numbers, hundreds, thousands, or millions of positive numbers, the answer is positive number. But for negative numbers, it's different. Example, positive number times a negative number times negative number times positive number times negative number. What will be the sign of the product? The rule is, if the number of negative numbers is an even number, the sign of the product is positive. But if the number of negative numbers is an odd number, the sign of the product is negative. Okay, let's take a look at this example. Let's count how many negative numbers are there. So we have 1, 2, 3. 3 is an odd number. That means the sign of the product is negative. Okay, this time, let's give an example. We have here this first example, negative 5 times negative 2 times positive 3. We will not care about the positive sign. We just need to count how many negative numbers are there in the problem. So in here, we have 1, 2. 2 is an even number. That means the sign of the product is positive. Okay, let's multiply. 5 times 2, 10, times 3, 30. Final answer is positive 30. How about the second example? Let's count how many negative numbers are there in this example. So we have 1, 2, 3. 3 is an odd number. That means the sign of the product is negative. Okay, let's multiply. 5 times 2, 10, times 3, 30. So final answer is negative 30. Let's move on. Okay, this time, let's determine the sign of the product when the number is raised to a certain exponent or power. Let's start with power of positive number. Positive number here means the base is positive and it is raised to a certain power. So if the base is positive and it is raised to a certain power, the product is positive. So regardless of exponent, if the base is a positive number, the product is positive. Example, we have here positive 3. This is inside the parenthesis and this is raised to the power of 4. So regardless of exponent, if the base is a positive number, product is positive. So this is like positive 3 times positive 3 times positive 3 times positive 3. The answer is positive 81. Okay, how about the second example? Positive number, so positive 2 raised to the power of 3. So regardless of exponent, if the base is positive, the answer is positive. So positive 2 times positive 2 times positive 2, the answer is positive 8. Okay, let's move on. This time, power of negative number. When we say negative number, the base is negative and it is raised to a certain power. So what is the rule? If the exponent or power is an even number, the product is positive. But if the power or exponent is an odd number, the product is negative. Example, we have here negative 3 inside the parenthesis, and this is raised to the power of 4. The exponent or power is 4, and 4 is an even number. So that means the product is positive. So we need to multiply 3 by itself 4 times. So 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. And this is equal to 81. So we have positive 81. Okay, how about the second example? Negative 2 inside the parenthesis, and this is raised to the power of 3. So our exponent or our power here is 3. And this is an odd number. So that means the product is a negative number. So 2 times 2 times 2 is equal to 8. So our final answer is negative 8. Okay, let's check this time these confusing powers or exponents. We have here negative 2 inside the parenthesis raised to the power of 2. The next number is negative 2. Take note, this is not inside the parenthesis. And this is also raised to the power of 2. And we have here a negative sign and then negative 2 inside the parenthesis raised to the power of 2. Okay, I will explain first this first number, negative 2 inside the parenthesis raised to the power of 2. This means that we need to multiply negative 2 by itself 2 times. So this is negative 2 times negative 2, and this is equal to positive 4 because negative number times negative number, the answer is positive number. Okay, let's move on to this next number. Negative 2 raised to the power of 2. And this is not inside the parenthesis. Okay, this means that we need to multiply this number 2 by itself 2 times, not including the negative sign. So we can write this way, negative and then comma. So 2 raised to the power of 2 is 2 times 2. And this is equal to 4. And we just need to attach this negative sign before this number 4. So this is negative 4. Okay, how about this third number? Negative and then the negative 2 inside the parenthesis raised to the power of 2. If we will remove this negative sign, negative 2 inside the parenthesis raised to the power of 2, this is the same with this one. So this is negative 2 times negative 2. Okay, but since we have a negative sign outside the parenthesis, we can write this way. So negative, comma, so negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. And we just need to attach the negative sign before 4. So this is negative 4. Okay, this time, let's answer the following problems. The first problem is, we need to find the result of this one. So we have negative 1/2 times negative 2 over 3 times negative 3 over 4 times negative 4 over 5. Okay, the last number is times negative 29 over 30. Okay, if we are going to take a look at this one, all the numbers or fractions are negative. And the operation is multiplication. Okay, look at the last number here, 29. That means there are 29 negative numbers. So since this is multiplication and 29 is an odd number, the product is a negative number. Okay, let's calculate or let's solve. We can actually simplify this one. So negative 1/2 times negative 2 over 3. 2 and 2. Okay, this one becomes 1. 3 and 3 simplify becomes 1. 4 and 4 simplify becomes 1. Negative 4 over 5, it means the next fraction is negative 5 over 6. So we can also simplify this one. And then negative 28 over 29, negative 29 over 30, we can simplify this one. So the next number here is 27 over 28. This is negative. We can simplify this one. So we have here 1 numerator is 1 and denominator is 30 because all these numbers are already 1. So we have negative 1 over 30. Okay, let's move on to the next problem. Okay, what is the result of this? Negative 1 plus negative 1, all inside the parentheses. This is raised to the power of 2 plus negative 1 inside the parentheses, raised to the power of 3, etc. The last number is negative 1 raised to the power of 30. Okay, if we are going to take a look at this one, all the base is a negative number and it's negative 1. Okay, the last exponent is 30. That means there are 30 negative 1 here. And take note, the operation is addition. Okay, if we are going to take a look at this one, negative 1 plus negative 1 raised to the power of 2. So this is negative 1 times negative 1, and this is equal to 1. So negative 1 plus positive 1 or 1, this is equal to 0. Okay, how about here? Negative 1 inside the parentheses raised to the power of 3. So the next number here is negative 1 raised to the power of 4. So this is negative 1 plus this is positive 1. And this is also, if we will add negative 1 plus a positive 1, this one is equal to 0. Okay, the last exponent is 30. So that means there are 15 pairs of like this. So it means we need to add 0 15 times. And 0 plus 0 plus 0 15 times, this one is still equal to 0. So the result or the answer for this problem is 0.